Welcome to another episode of the 5 Point Podcast. I am your host Mohammad Sutarwala and I am in conversation with Chirantan Joshi, the co-founder of Immoverse Group. In the 5 Point Podcast, we discuss about things that help organizations to grow and to become better. And today, we talk about 5 ways to correct or to address errant behavior. So Joshi, can you share with us the 5 points?
Yes, Mohammed. In the 5 ways of addressing errant behavior, my first point would be having a clear and transparent communication when you see an errant behavior happening.
Okay.
It's important that you have a clear communication where you set the right expectations, you get the person to agree to the errant behavior which is caused. And it's also very, very important who does that within the organization.
I see.
The right person needs to have the respect and the skill set to have this conversation to get the maximum effect out of it. So it's all about setting the right expectations and getting the agreement from the person where the errant behavior has occurred. That's very important.
Okay. So you get the person to admit that yes, I have made a mistake. But more important is that to make sure that to whom he is admitting to, because that may have an implication. I see.
Yes.
What would be the second point?
The second point is, I would call it periodic review. That means periodically reviewing the situations where errant behavior has occurred, which will give you a certain patterns or the changes which are happening in the organization, so you can reset the expectations, reset the policies of what is accepted, what is not accepted. That is very, very important.
Okay, so it's like considering the internal factors and the external factors which could give rise to errant behavior.
Yes, and periodic review also makes sure that you're reminding the persons of what is accepted and what is not accepted.
Right. And what about the third point?
The third point is very important, which is being fair.
Okay.
What I mean by being fair is, when you make policies, when you decide what is accepted, what is non-accepted, what is negotiable, what is non-negotiable, it is very important that that rule applies to everybody. There are no biases within the organization.
All are equal.
All are equal. There are no biases in your decision making. Because if you show some sort of biases in your decision making, if you exempt some people from the policies and the rules and regulations, it actually turns the other people into a rebel. It might turn the other person into a rebel.
So you have to be fair.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fourth point?
Fourth point is empathy. And what I mean by empathy is, it is important to understand in what circumstances this errant behavior might have occurred.
Okay.
So doing the root cause analysis of the circumstances in which these errant behaviors have occurred actually open up more solutions for you to decide.
Can you give an example of empathy?
So typically, if you talk about empathy and giving you an example, let's say attendance or coming on time is one example, where you say 8 o'clock is the office start, up to 8:15 everybody is allowed to come in, and you see a particular person is walking in at 8:20, 8:25 all the time.
Right.
It is very important to have the conversation about the circumstances, that why is he walking in at 8:20 in spite of knowing and agreeing to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
So 8 o'clock or 8:15 is acceptable. You agree that yes, I am late, but then empathy is trying to understand why are you late.
Why? And then making that distinction that this is what is acceptable, and let's work towards, in your situation, let's work towards it to make it happen so that you can come between the time limit which is allowed.
I see. Okay. And what would be the final point, fifth point?
The final point is again I hope that we don't need to go to that final point, but that's very important for the organization, which is after repetitive discussions, if you still see that the errant behavior is not stopping, it is very, very important to get that person off the bus. It is important to maintain the culture within the organization. So when you get that person off the bus, you are actually saving the organization from future errant behaviors from his team members.
Okay.
It's very, very important for that.
So you're making an example of what is not behavior.
Absolutely.
And you're showing that you can take action.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you don't want the basket to be spoiled because of one rotten apple.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it helps us to understand and address current errant behavior. So can you recap the 5 points again?
So the first point is getting agreement from the person. Second is periodic review. Third is being fair in every situation. Fourth is showing empathy. And fifth is terminal action.
Okay, so take him off the bus.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And as we always do, we would like to end with your last words on this podcast.
So to summarize, I would say, Mohammed, after all, we are all humans. We make mistakes. It is important to understand the circumstances in which those mistakes have happened, those errant behaviors have occurred before you take the decisions.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed listening to this. Till the next podcast, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.